Hey, what's up guys? Houston here. And for those of you just finding my YouTube channel, welcome. Please remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell. Now for those of you that's always following me and supporting me, as always, salute. And as well as my Patreon guys, double salute. Now today's video, we're going to be talking about pre-approval credit cards, because I think for you to eliminate so many inquiries on your credit report, it's best that you learn out what's the best credit cards to do the pre-approval for. Plus, I'm going to talk about the high limit credit cards, where if you're trying to get like 10,000 plus, then there's a formula that you actually should be following, okay? So we're going to talk about that. But the first thing that I want you all to understand, when trying to get pre-approved with financial institutions, they're going to check 5 systems, okay? Now, here's the 5 systems. If you've been denied a credit card, a loan, these are the 5 systems that you need to check before you start inquiring about these credit cards and loans, okay? So this is what's going on. One is check systems, right? So you got check systems. Number 2, you got EWS, early warning systems, all right? So those are the first gatekeepers, and that's very important. So when you're trying to join a financial institution or something, and they don't want to accept you as a member or with a bank or something like that, you have to understand, if they're not checking check system, they're more likely checking early warning systems. Now, when you're trying to go after credit cards and loans and stuff, these systems are the ones that they're actually checking, okay? They have clarity. Now, understand, with Clarity, I told you guys, Clarity is owned by Experian, right? So by the Experian pulling their data in, they're reselling this information to financial institutions that pull from Experian. So if you're not in early warning systems or you're not in check systems and you've been denied, they probably pulled your Clarity file, all right? Now here's another one. Data X. Now Data X is owned by Equifax. So if you've been trying to apply for credit cards and stuff and you've been denied and you've been using your Equifax, here's your problem. Data X, they're owned by Equifax. So that's one you also have to understand. Now, number 5 is Factor Trust. Okay? And they're owned by TransUnion. So you have Clarity, Data X, Factor Trust. So if you have a low credit score, you have low income, and you've been denied and everything, these are the systems that they're going to check besides check systems and early warning systems. So you need to understand that. Now, here's something that that still may be able to help you though, because some of these companies, they may look over this if you have a high income, right? So if you have a high income and a low debt to income ratio, they may still accept you. And we have seen that being proven over and over. So now if you're trying to get a credit card, now these here credit cards here, they're going to do a pre-approval and determine whether they want to work with you or not. And again, it's going to go off your income and your debt to income ratio, but at the same time, this is what you have to look out for. All right, so you have Milestone, and these here cards here, they're high fees. They charge a lot of fees on them. But at the same time, if you need a credit card and you don't have the money to secure that credit card, then these are the cards you want to go after. You have Milestone, you have Destiny. Okay? I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just want you all to understand. Now here's 2 more that will help you. You have Patel 2 and you have Credit AI. credit AI. This is very important, all right? Because especially if you have a thin credit file and you're trying to get approved and everything. As a matter of fact, I have an associate that this just happened. He has a good credit file, but there was no actual activity going on, so they denied him, right? So that's the type of things you have to look out for. Now, here's something. If you're trying to get high limit credit cards, here's something that I would definitely encourage you to do. This is very important, so please understand. I would open a personal account and a business account, okay? That's the first thing that I would do, all right? The reason is because the creditors that I'm start showing you and stuff like that, even though they do pre-approval, it's better the more data they're able to pull in on you, and the better the relationship, the better it is for you to have a higher chance of actually being approved. And I'm going to share a few tricks with you in terms of helping you in case you are denied, that will be in negotiation to help you get approved. But again, in order for that to happen, you need to do this, especially if you're trying to get high limit credit cards, okay? Now, you have to have, they may have like a secured card, a secured loan, all right? This also helps. Then if you have direct deposit, all right? So if you have, direct deposit, that definitely helps because again, you are wanting to build that relationship with them. Now, here's something that you definitely should work on. If you have, inquiries, removing those inquiries, okay? So here's something that a lot of people are not aware of. Like when you're constantly, if you say that you have a whole lot of new trade lines, right? And you have a whole lot of inquiries. So even if you remove all of those inquiries, they're gonna look at how many accounts are brand new. So you have to actually make sure you keep it balanced. All right, so even though you removed some of the inquiries, but if they see that you have a whole lot of new accounts, this can play a factor in them denying you still. So that's the reason I'm telling you, in terms of when you're trying to build a relationship with financial institutions, it's best to be able to have actual accounts with them because it increases your chances of getting approval. Now, here's one thing that you could do. A balance transfer card, all right? So say that you have a credit card with maybe over the threshold limit of 30%, right? So then they may have a balance transfer card. Well, this also helps you get in the door to build that relationship so that it makes it much easier for you to get pre-approved for more cards, all right? So that's the reason that I'm sharing this with you. Now, let's talk about some of the cards that actually, rundown, of what it is when you're trying to get approved, all right? So let's talk about Amex. Now, with American Express, guys, you all know I'm very go forward with American Express. I don't know if that's the right term, but at the same time, leveraging American Express, all right? So I told you to open up a savings account, right? But in terms of when you're doing the pre-approval, again, the more accounts you have, or the better it is for you. So with American Express, they don't offer personal accounts. They offer business accounts now because they have the cabbage, right? And so that's another database that you can get in to help you get more pre-approvals and stuff like that. And the good thing about American Express, once you have the cards and stuff like that, then they're pulling all internal data to help you get approved for other credit cards and loans by invitation. All right. So that means by them taking those actions internally, that means that no more hard inquiries on your credit. All right, so that's the reason that you should build a relationship this way. Now, with American Express, they want your name, your address, the last four of your social, and it's optional. You can put your income. I would tell you to put your income. And now, let me speak on this. When you're applying for any credit card or any loan, when they say, what's your income? You need to put your whole household income. So if you're married, include your spouse's income. If you have a retirement plan, if you renting out a room and you collecting rent from that, that's included. So the higher your income, the lower your DTI, the higher chances you are of being approved. Okay, so this is why it's important. Now, let's talk about Bank of America. Bank of America, they want your name, your address, your date of birth, the last four of your social, okay? Now, with Capital One, they want your name, the address, your date of birth, and your full social, okay? That's with Capital One. And also with Capital One, you may want to see if, say that you're in the market for a car or whatever. So if they approve you for the credit card, you may want to see if they'll use that same application to get you approved, because they do a pre-approval on car loans. But see if you've been approved for a credit card, see if they're willing to use that same application. Or if somebody that's dealing with Capital One, if you put it in the comments, if you ever tried this strategy, and that's where you've been approved for a credit card, and then you use that same application to get approved for a car loan. So if you ever use that strategy, put a comment, put it in the comments or the notes, so we'll know that may be a possibility in terms of not having too many inquiries, because with Capital One, you know, even though they have the pre-approval, but once they do the full approval, they're going to pull from all three credit bureaus. So that's what you don't want them pulling from all three credit bureaus and putting 6 inquiries on your credit. So that's the reason you do the approval, the pre-approval, and then if you accept it, then when they do the approval and you're able to use that same application to try to get another product up there. So in the comments, would you definitely, if you use Capital One, let me know your opinion of some of these cards I'm talking about in terms of the approval process. Because you also have to understand, because you're pre-approved for it, doesn't mean that you guaranteed to get it. All right? Because again, there's other factors. All right? That's the reason I'm sharing this with you. Now, you have Chase Bank. Now with Chase Bank, they want your name, address, and the last 4 of the social. Then of course you have Discover. Now Discover, they want your full social, your name, address, your income, your banking account information. This is stuff what they want, and also whether you're a college student and what type of card you're actually going for. So with Discover, they want a little more information, but again, the threshold may be a little easier for you to get approved, all right? But in terms of the pre-approval, so you won't get the hard inquiry, and then if you accept the card, that's when the hard inquiry will come. All right, now let's jump over to the credit unions, all right? Because with the credit unions, I think it's your best situation. Because usually with credit unions, the threshold is much lower because you're an actual member of it, right? And so by the threshold being much lower, and again, I would tell you to do the same thing. Open up the personal account, the business account. If you have challenging credit, do the secured card and the secured loan, right? To build that relationship, and if you're able to, do the direct deposit. So with Navy Federal, all right? With Navy Federal, we talked about the late night hack, where people with even a 530 credit score have been approved, and they pull your TransUnion. And so granted, here's the caveat with Navy Federal, is that you have to be military. And again, if you are not a member of Navy Federal, there are other ways for you to become a member. So put a comment in the link put a comment in the description. Hey Houston, can I see that video? And I'll make sure I get it over to you, because it's just been overwhelming for me because I'm constantly in meetings and everything like that. But I'll make sure that I go through the comments and start sending that video to you guys that actually want to see that video. So if you say, Houston, let me see the video, I'll do that for you guys, okay? Now, here's one, NASA. All right, so NASA, it's right on their website. They will do a pre-approval. Okay, now here's the thing about NASA: you have to become a National Academic of Science member. Okay, so if you, it's called the National Academy of Science. Excuse me, the National Academy of Science, and they pull from Experian. Okay, so now you know that NASA, National Academy of Science, to become a member. All right, now you have Alliant pulls from TransUnion. All right, and they still do the pre-approval, but in order to become a member, you have to join their foster care to success. Now here's the thing I like about Alliant, because with their Platinum card, you apply for that card, it actually will give you $10,000. All right, so that's the reason I'm talking about these cards, because a lot of times we may have we apply for credit cards and stuff, and they may start us off at $1,000 or $3,000 and stuff. But with the credit unions, a lot of times the credit unions, they'll give you a higher limit than even with the banks. So that's the reason I would tell you guys, I would choose the credit unions to start out with versus the banks, the traditional banks. All right, so there's another credit union called GESA, G-E-S-A. Okay, now they're a great credit union as well. A lot of people have had success with them. You have a Unified Credit Union. Now they pull from Experian. Unified Credit Union pulls from Experian. Okay. Now, in order to become a member of Unified Credit Union, you have to Surfrider is the foundation that they go through. So if you join Surfrider Foundation, you can become a Unified Credit Union member. All right, and again, they pull from Experian, but the reason I'm telling you this, so you don't have to start guessing at all of this stuff. Well, what do I do here? What do I do there? No, I'm giving you the facts, so you know that, hey, they do a pre-qualification, so that you don't have to do the hard inquiry. Okay. Now, you also have U.S. Alliance, and they pull from Experian also. And then you have American Eagle Credit Union, and they also pull from Experian. And that's interesting because we always wonder, like, okay, where are they pulling from? And a lot of people, when they don't know where they're pulling from until they actually pull the credit file. All right, but here's the thing about it. Depends on the region of the country that you're in. With the major financial institution, with the big banks, it can depend on which part of the country you're in, whether you're on the West Coast or the East Coast, right? But with credit unions, most of the time, like with their credit cards and stuff, they really stay dedicated to whatever lender they choose. So like I said, even with Navy Federal, they're going to pull your TransUnion. All right, and also with some of these credit unions, when you're signing up for an account, they may waive that inquiry to help you join. So meaning that they won't put an inquiry when you're trying to actually become a member. So that's the reason that I'm sharing that with you. So some credit unions like Navy Federal, they'll pull your Equifax when you're trying to become a member, right? But with some of these credit unions, they may not even put a hard inquiry. They'll do a soft pull. So that's the reason I tell you guys to make sure that you check these systems. Check system, early warning system, clarity, data, and factor trust. And you can also freeze those files as well. So with the credit unions, they may ask you to unfreeze one or two of them or whatever. but at least now you know that, hey, who does what in terms of looking at your credit, what are their backups, and what it is that you actually need to do in order to get approved, pre-approved, plus approved for a credit card through these financial institutions. All right. Now you have Christian Community Credit Union, and so you have to join the Christian Alliance of Orphans. And again, guys, for you guys that are members of these credit unions, put it in the comments. Let me know, did they do a hard inquiry for you to become a member? What did they pull in terms of when you applied for a credit card? Did you do the pre-approval, or you just went ahead and applied, and did you get approved, or what had happened? Share with the community what's happening, so the community will be well aware of, okay, these are the steps that I need to take. Okay, so that's the reason that I'm asking you all to do this, and I'm sharing this information so that the community, so that the community can continue to grow. Now, here's something I'm gonna tell you guys that can really help you get approved for a credit card, especially with the major traditional banks like Amex, Bank of America, and stuff like that, as well as with the credit unions. One of the biggest things that you have to your leverage is the recon line, calling their reconsideration line. All right, because when you call their reconsideration line, then you can explain your situation, right? And by you explaining your situation, that's again, by them seeing you coming on, having multiple accounts, a business bank account, a personal bank account, secured cards, a secured loan, and then they deny you, now you're able to get on the phone with their reconciliation line and say, hey, I'm trying to build a relationship with you guys. I have this account, that account, or whatever, and what it is that I can get, even if they start you out with a low limit credit card, I would tell you this, and many people make this mistake, and I'm gonna encourage you, do not make this mistake. All right, if they give you a lower limit credit card, so say they don't give you $5,000, $10,000 credit card, they may give you a lower limit. I would still encourage you, use it, pay it off on time. Like I told you, make sure that you're paying it off weekly, because of the other credit bureaus, they all don't pick up the same data at the same time. But most people, if they get a $500 credit card, they won't even use it. So by them not using it, how can I pull data in to know that you actually really do need my money, right? If you won't use the 500, what makes me think you're going to use the 5,000? So that's the reason I'm continuing to tell you guys, even if it's a small amount, use it. If you can bypass, like with the high fee or high interest credit cards and stuff, if you can bypass those, I would. Like Milestone, Destiny, these are just in case you have a thin file, okay, and you're starting to rebuild. But most of the time, I would tell you to actually build with the financial institution that offer personal accounts and business accounts, because again, you have a higher threshold, a higher opportunity to end up getting more money for you on the personal side, as well as building a relationship to get money on the business side. All right, so calling that reconsideration line. Now, the late night hack has been doing well for a lot of people with Navy Federal, right? I would tell you this, that if the late night hack is operating and doing well for Navy Federal, why not try it with some of the other credit unions to see what would happen? Because they probably have the same type of system where if you put the application in after midnight, their institutions are probably closed at a certain hour. So the computer is generating the approval and the pre-approval process, right? So do the pre-approval and then do put the actual application in after midnight at some of these other credit unions. If some of you guys have already tried it, let me know. Have you had any success with it? A lot of people, they haven't even tried it, so they don't know. Okay, I know with some of the banks, it does happen and it works. All right, but at the same time with the credit unions, see if it works for you. See what happens and put a comment below if you already had some success with it. Okay, but those are the two things that I would definitely do. I would do the pre-approval. Then after midnight, I would try to do the late night hack. And then if I get denied, I will call the recon, but I would make sure that I actually have a banking relationship with these financial institutions before I start trying to negotiate. The reason is you have a higher chance of approval after denial if you actually have a real relationship with them. Okay, now a few ways for you to help increase your chances. Again, you may have somebody that has a credit card with one of these financial institutions that you're trying to become a member of, and by you asking them to add you on as a authorized user. So again, they're pulling in internal data, and that'll also help your chances of being approved. All right, so this is Houston with three-way funding. If you have any questions, if you need consultation on the personal side or the business side, click the link below. Set up a meeting with three-way funding with me, of course, and I'll be able to walk you through the steps to help you start rebuilding your personal credit as well as your business credit. So for those of you that just found the channel, I hope that this information is helpful to you. Give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it if you share, comment, let me know what you like about some of the information that I'm sharing, and if you actually tried some of these financial institutions and the steps that I'm sharing with you. And for those of you that's been following me, supporting me, as always, salute.